guys? So today I want to go over the basic rundown of Joanna Jedrzejczyk's fight camp for UFC Fight Night Tampa, where she faced and defeated Michelle Waterson. Now, I got a lot of questions lately on how did we develop the program and how did we go about getting her ready and prepared for the fight against Michelle. The great thing about Joanna is that she's a hard worker, she's dedicated to the sport, and that she loves to fight, she loves to train. So it wasn't too hard for me as a coach to get her ready to go, to get her ready to train hard and to stay focused. I've been working with her for over 3.5 years now, and every year she gets better and she gets more hungry to succeed. So I'm gonna go over the basics from the off camp all the way leading up into the fight on how we got her prepared to dominate come UFC Fight Night Tampa. Let's do this. Okay, so with every fight and with every fighter, we still have to work on the base of their overall physical capabilities. So it starts off camp. So what we did was off camp stage 1 is 16 to 12 weeks out, where the focus points are going to be based upon creating a base of overall strength. And we're going to use these methods of high and medium volumes to increase hypertrophy, technical efficiency, right? Tissue remodeling, and also having the ability to sustain the amount of volume that can help her recover from workouts going into camp. And number 2, we're gonna work on local muscular endurance. Now, we knew that Michelle wanted to close the distance, get her up against the cage, and work her grips and make sure that she could try to take Joanna down. So the goal was to really make sure that she had the strong enough grip endurance to get that 2-on-1, get her off, you know, turn the tables, make sure that she would be able to break off and then work her strikes like she did efficiently inside the fight. Another thing that we wanted to work on is her legs, right? We wanted to make sure that she had the ability to throw those leg kicks all the way through the fight and make sure that she had the ability to buffer out that lactic acid when needed, especially if she had to stop takedowns. So we worked through a tempo method where it was a slower eccentric and a slower concentric, where she had to have sustained amount of time under tension, which is gonna cause the buildup of lactic acid to go into that local muscle to give it the ability to buffer it out, come into the fight camp and going in all the way into the fight itself. So we worked through that. We also worked on farmer's carries. We worked on what's called a Hercules hold in the side and on the sides of the bodies, because we wanted to make sure that she could sustain the amount of grip strength, forearm strength, and upper back strength for the entire time of the fight. And we did that with those types of modalities. Okay, so number 3, right? We want to increase aerobic power. Now, what is aerobic power? It's the increase in the muscle's capacity to take in oxygen. So we worked through tempos that were going to enhance that. We also worked through rest and work ratios of 1-to-1 and 2-to-1. And we did it at a higher level of that VO2. Because we want to make sure that we're increasing the muscle's ability to take in that oxygen and utilize it, we had to make sure that we were getting up into that higher aerobic zone, and then that she could sustain it and then recover appropriately. So we were talking about recoverability in between bouts of energy, and also getting her heart rate up to a maximal aerobic power to where she could sustain it for a given amount of time, and then bring her percent of heart rate down to about 30% so that she could get ready to go come the next round. And as you can see, she was fresh, she was ready to go each round. All right, and then number 4, we have to minimize the skills training, because again, there's gonna be a lot more volume, a lot more frequency of physical preparation. This is where we really get to hone in on our base of strength and base of aerobic capacity and overall abilities from a physicality standpoint and athleticism. So with the stage 1, 16 to 12 weeks out, there was very minimal, if not any, sparring at all. She was doing some grappling, she was doing jiu-jitsu, she was doing, you know, either technical sparring or just some pad work there, here and there, but nothing crazy. That's gonna go more into the in-camp, getting closer to the fight, where the skills training will start to pick up. All right, let's get on to pre-camp now, where we start to get ready for camp. All right, so now we're gonna go into off-camp stage 2, pre-camp, and that's gonna be about 11 to 9 weeks out. Now, the focus points for this one is going to make sure that we have to increase strength and overall stability. So we're gonna work through that triphasic method of isometrics and some eccentrics. We're also gonna be doing isometrics in the eccentric portion. So basically what that means is we call it negative isometrics. So what you would be doing, a yielding isometric would be coming down in a particular range that you're weak at, what we call the mini max, and then you would hold that position for up to 5 to even 60 seconds. Now we do 3, 5, and 60-second intervals. Obviously, when there's 3 seconds, the intensity is higher. When there's 60 seconds, the intensity is lower. The goal really is to make sure that we are having the ability, again, to buffer out that lactic, make sure that they're getting strong in those ranges. And when you do those isometrics, you have a 15 to 10 degrees up and down to get strong in those ranges. So if you decide to do an isometric in a mini-max, or what we call a weakening or a sticking point, we can make sure that we're getting stronger in the ranges from 15 to 10 degrees up or down with those ranges. So again, if you wanted to do isometrics in several different ranges, you're going to increase the overall strength in the entire movement if you do those isometrics correctly, all right? And we also want to work on lactic power training. So what does that do? Lactic power, right? That will stimulate the enzymes involved in the anaerobic glycolysis and shifts metabolism of the working muscle to anaerobic. So basically what that means is for wrestling and other forms of grappling, it's going to give you the ability to have prolonged high energy output, okay? So what you want to work on is a 1:8 or even 1:5 work to rest ratio. And you can do this with either a prowler, a sled push, a sled drag, you know, something that's going to be sustained throughout time for about 30 to 90 seconds, and then you're gonna get a sustained amount of recovery, whether that be 4 to even 6 minutes. But those 30 to 90 seconds are very taxing. All right, so we wanna make sure that we're giving them the weight, the load necessary to build up that lactic acid inside the working tissue, whether that be upper body or lower body. And we're gonna do that for several sets, sometimes up to 3 to even 6 sets through, all right? Again, this is what we did 3 days a week. Again, the frequency was where we needed to be. I don't like to do anything more than 3 days a week, sometimes 4, and that's primarily gonna be a restorative day where we're just working on general physical preparedness and just overall restoration for the muscles and joints to get ready for the training for the next week. All right, getting into camp now, skills training has picked up. So now we have to bring down, I should say, the physical preparation, and we're only gonna be going on 2 days a week now. So let's get into it. All right, so now we're getting into in camp, right? So that is going to be in camp stage 1, general to specific. We're working about 8 to 5 weeks out here. The focus points, all right, we're going to be working on the condensed conjugate model. If you don't know what that is, I've done a recent video that you can check it out in the link in the description to go over the entire program that I set there based off the methods from the old conjugate method. So again, we want to eliminate accommodation. We also want to decrease or make sure we minimize detraining. So again, we're going to be working through constant movements that are going to enhance force and overall high velocities in particular ranges that are going to be conducive for the sport. Okay, so again, special strengths are going to be introduced. So we're talking about strength speed, speed strength, explosive strength. We're going to be working through those ranges and through those velocities so that she can increase her overall dynamic movement and explosiveness, but also create that high force output needed for the sport. Okay, so she can get those strikes in order to make sure that she's strong, capable of stopping the takedown, but also be fast and explosive for the entire time of the fight. Okay. We're gonna split the 2 days up because again, we're only gonna be able, just because the overall skills training has picked up from a volume perspective. So 2 days a week is gonna be fairly optimal for what we need to do. All right, we're gonna make sure that we're managing fatigue through those objective indicators like an HRV monitor, and we're just monitoring her heart rate, her resting heart rate in the morning, making sure that it doesn't jump too far up. If it jumps up to 6 to 8 beats within a given morning, that usually is a sign that she is somewhat overtraining or she's stressed out, and we need to back off a little bit there. Also, we wanna make sure that we're looking into her coordination, her grip strength. You can use a dynamometer, make sure that you get a baseline testing of that. And then if that is off, that usually is another indicator of her being overtrained or your fighter being overtrained. So just a quick tip for that, okay? We also want to use indicator lifts with the highest relevancy, okay? Something like a Zercher squat, a sumo deadlift, something that's going to help her or enhance her or give us the capabilities of understanding where she's strong at so that she could take that over inside the cage, okay? And then we also want to bring up the weak points. We find that out through those indicator lifts. So we're going to use builder lifts or supplemental lifts and accessories to build up weak muscles, right? Or build up weak positions inside that indicator lift bar path or whatever the case may be. So Again, from Joanna's perspective, we were looking at the hamstrings, we were looking at the upper back. We wanted to make sure that was strong. We also wanted to get her glute strong because she wanted to be able to move in and out and be able to change direction more efficiently, but also sustain the ability to stand up and make sure that she stays on top of her feet and she doesn't get taken down. So again, using those hips, getting those underhooks for that upper back, and then making sure that she has strong hamstrings to evade the takedown and stuff a takedown when the time comes, all right? And again, we're gonna be working through concurrent energy systems because we need to make sure that we do not detrain these specific energy systems that are going to enhance her overall physiology. So we worked on aerobic capacity work. That was more for a restorative day, and you can look at other videos that I've done in the past on energy system training and how to manage it throughout your skills training in camp. I can put a link in the description for that too as well. So we followed that path as well. And I also put in a little bit more alactic capacity work for her because she does have that big aerobic base. So we were able to take that aerobic base and then work on those alactic zones so that she can repeat those bouts of energy for the entire time of the fight and be fast and explosive and recover as quickly as possible. All right, so now we're gonna get on to the basic breakdown of what we did for in-camp stage 2, getting ready for the fight. Let's do it. All right, so the final cut, right? In-camp stage 2, pre-fight, 4 to 1 weeks out. The focus points are gonna be high velocity, high power outputs. So we're gonna be working more on that speed quality. The dynamic movements have been picked up. We're gonna use rate of force development type exercises, box squats, box jumps, things like that, and higher velocities. Okay, we're also gonna be working contrast sets where she'll be using a high force output followed by a high dynamic output so that it can enhance her ability to be explosive in those particular ranges. I like to use overcoming isometrics in this particular method of contrast training. So if we're looking at post-activation potentiation, I'm gonna be using just a isometric hold, pushed into pins or pulled into pins, and then I'm gonna do that for about 3 to 5 seconds only to make sure that she can get that maximal force output without putting any stress on the joints. And then she's gonna take that and go into a specific dynamic movement that are going to enhance the quality of explosiveness from that same position, okay? That's gonna be primarily 4 weeks to 3 weeks out. After 2 weeks out, then it's just primarily gonna be working on speed and agility and change of direction, okay? Because of the fact that the weight cut starts to get increased, the overall caloric intake starts to go down, and that she's not feeling as fully ready to train like that. There is not a whole lot of fuel going in, so energy outputs are down. So we gotta make sure that we're getting the most out of what we can and that we're auto-regulating every day. So we worked on aerobic power and alactic capacity. We usually used a prowler sprint or a sled sprint or even an assault bike, something like that. And then also she liked to do her long distance runs just for the weight cut purpose. So she also did a little bit of aerobic capacity there. That's fine because again, that's the first to delineate when it comes down to someone who has a high aerobic base and then also speed, right? So you have 5 days of detraining there, and then you can have up to 7 days of detraining if you're highly conditioned. So we wanted to make sure we kept that in, plus it helped with the weight cut, all right? And number 3, we want to manage fatigue. Now how we're going to do that is obviously we want to make sure the schedule is appropriate. So we're scheduling out the skills training and the physical preparation to make sure that she's not overtraining in that particular week. And then also we're guiding the caloric intake so that she can do what she needs to do, have the energy to get what the work is supposed to be done and do it appropriately. And then also we're always communicating between coaches, and I'm also communicating with the UFCPI or George Lockhart who does the weight cut so that we can give her the proper fuel she needs to do the workouts, but also make sure that the progression of the weight cut is going smoothly, all right? Again, we also want to make sure that we're auto-regulating, so we're taking what we see, right, from an inventory perspective, whether it be subjective or objective indicators, and we're making sure that we have to either bring up the training or bring down the training based off of what we see from a numbers and what she's given us from just an overall ability of energy, okay? And again, like I said, we had to manage the weight cut, so there was things in there, put in there so that it can help speed up the metabolism and also just burn a little bit of calories too as well. The weight cut, again, we all know it wasn't the best. It was pretty hard for her to do, but she did it, she got it done. She's a true professional, and that's the work that we had to do. she's just getting bigger. You know, she walks around at 139 pounds. She's about 5'6". You know, getting down to 115 pounds is a stretch, but we can make the weight. So again, we did what we needed to do. We had help with quality professionals for the weight cutting, and then also what I did, and then also what Mike Brown and all the other coaches did over there from her skills training, and we got the W. So again, this is the primary focus of what we did throughout the entire camp and in off camp to get her ready for Michelle Waterson to defeat her at UFC Fight Night Tampa. All right, if you have any questions, go ahead, hit the comments down below. I'm sure there's gonna be some type of questions. If you like this style of video, let me know. Hit the like button and make sure you subscribe and hit the notification so you know my videos come out. Thanks again for watching. Peace.